Using either the automatic or manual deck framing features, it is easy to control the position of your deck post and post footings on a sloping terrain. Here I am in a plan, and if you want to see your post and post footings in a floor plan view, the first step is to switch from your working plan view to your framing floor plan view, and then go down to your floor 0 where you can see your deck framing. Next, to automatically regenerate the deck framing, you have to ensure that the setting is turned on. You can ensure the setting is turned on by clicking in the room, and then in the bottom left-hand corner, clicking on Open Object, and then go down to the deck panel, and then make sure the Automatically Regenerate Deck Framing checkbox is selected. When this checkbox is selected, anytime you move the position of one of your deck railings, the framing associated with the deck will automatically regenerate. Next, you can specify the automatic deck framing by going to your deck support panel where you can modify the automatic beams, post, and post footings. If we start with the deck beams, here you can specify the maximum on-center spacing between your deck beams. If you click on Edit Beam, here you can see your beam size and the type of framing being used for the beam. If we cancel out of this, next is our deck post, where you can see the maximum on-center post spacing and how far the post should be offset from the end of the beam. If we click on Edit Post, here you can edit the type of framing being used for the post and the size of the post. Let's cancel out of this. And next is the post footing, where you can see the height above the terrain from the center of the post footing, the post footing thickness, the width of the post footing, the shape, and then rebar information for your materials list calculations. In this simple example of automatically controlling the deck framing, notice how our post spacing is 72 inches on center, and you can see where that's located in the floor plan view. But if we change it from 72 inches on center to say 96 inches on center and press on OK, you can see how that updates in both the 3D view and the floor plan view. You can also manually control the framing in the plan. Let's start off by manually deleting some of these post and post footings. To do this, I'm going to jump back to the floor plan view, and to delete all 4 posts affiliated with this section of the plan, I'm going to go up to our framing tools, and I'm going to select the post tool, and then I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to marquee select around the area where I want to delete those posts, and when I release my mouse, in the bottom left hand corner it says I have 4 objects currently selected. Because I had activated the post tool and then held Shift and marqueed select over this area, I only selected the posts. Next, I can just press the delete key on my keyboard, and we're going to get a message that says we're going to be turning off the automatic deck framing by manually adjusting it. I'm going to go ahead and click on yes to this, and then next, to delete the post footings, you need to go up to the slab tool, select the slab with footing tool, and then do the same thing, hold Shift on the keyboard, marquee select in the area you would like to delete the footings, and once you have them selected, just press the delete key on your keyboard. Next, let's talk about the post and post footing heights. If we focus in our attention on this post and post footing in our 3D view, and we click on the footing, and then click on Open Object, here you can see the footing thickness, the elevation reference, the elevation at the top, and the elevation at the bottom of the footing, as well as controlling the shape of the footing. If you want to make any adjustments to the thickness of the footing or the elevations for the footing, you can make those adjustments here and the footing will update. Let's cancel out of this, and next let's look at the post, but before we do that, let's switch from our standard rendering technique to our glass house rendering technique. And if you look at what's going on here, the post is just resting on top of the footing. While this may be good if you're anchoring the post on top of the footing, if you'd prefer for the post to be contained within the footing, you can double click on the post to open it up, where you can see that we have information about the post height. Here you can see our top height, which is directly under the beam, the bottom height, which is resting on top of our footing, and the total height. Recall that the footing is 12 inches thick, and for the purpose of this example, let's say we wanted the post 2 inches from the bottom of the footing. So what we need to do is add 10 inches to the total height of the post while locking the top height so the post bottom rests 2 inches from the footing bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the total height. I'm going to add 10. And when I press tab, our bottom height's going to update along with the total height. And then I'm going to press on OK. And you can see how that change was made in the 3D view. Now that we know how to control height information for the post and post footing, let's look at ways to control the post and post footing underneath the beam. If we press spacebar and then click on the post, and then hold Control and click on the post footing, we can then move the post and post footing along the beam, and if we press tab, we can specify a new distance from where we would like it positioned. Additionally, you can press copy in the bottom left-hand corner, select on the move handle, and drag out a copy of the post and post footing. And if you want to be very specific with its location, you can press on tab, and then enter in the new location for the copy. We can verify that that copy was positioned on center using our dimension tools. If we go up to our dimension tools and double click to configure the settings for them, I'm going to be using the end-to-end dimension tool, and so I'm going to go to the option that says locate end-to-end, go down to framing, and ensure that I have locating framing centers checked, and click on OK. And then next go to the end-to-end dimension tool, and then come over to our posts, and once I have the center of it selected, just drag a dimension line across. And there you can see I verified that they're dimensioned 48 inches or 4 feet from each other, and you can see that this post label is getting in the way. If you wanted to adjust its position, simply click on the post, and then you'll see a small handle here for the post label, and then just drag it down to the side. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other post over here. Additionally, using this dimension, you can control the position of the post and post footing by selecting on the post, selecting on the footing, selecting the dimension, and typing in your new desired dimension, and the program will update. If we go back to our 3D view and switch from our glass house rendering technique back to our standard rendering technique, one thing that's worth noting is that when you copy and paste your post and footing, it's using the same height and elevation as your original post. While this may be okay in some situations such as this one, on a sloping terrain where the elevations significantly vary, you're going to have to manually adjust the post and post footings elevations. For situations like this, where you may want to manually adjust the post and post footing, it may make more sense to use the dedicated post with footing tool. If we go back to our floor plan view, zoom out a little bit and focus on this side of the beam, and then go up to our framing tools, there's an option here that says post with footing. If we select on this and then click once on the beam, you can see how Chief has added a post with a footing in this area of the plan. One thing you'll have noticed there is that the post came in with a different material than the other post in the plan, and this is because the post with footing tool comes in based on a different set of default settings. If we go up to our default settings and then come down to the framing default settings and double click, there's an option here that says posts, and if you click on edit post defaults, here you can see the framing type being used, the post size, and if we click on the materials panel on the left, the materials being used by the post. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this, and then similarly you can specify information about the post footing. Let's go ahead and cancel out of this, click on done, and one advantage of using the post with footing tool to add support to the deck is that it's independent of the automatically regenerate deck framing setting. This means that you can have the auto rebuild deck framing turned on while manually adding more framing to the deck. Let's take a look at this by, in our floor plan view, going up to our first floor, pressing spacebar, selecting in the room, and selecting on open object, and then go down to the deck panel, and then click on automatically regenerate deck framing, and watch what happens in our 3D view when we do this. Chief has automatically rebuilt the deck framing while maintaining our manual deck framing edit. If we go over to the floor plan view and then go down to our floor 0, we can then continue to move and position our manual deck framing wherever we please. And that's going to conclude this video.